Good morning, and thank you so much for your patience. My name is Stella Natufe, and I work for the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Welcome to the BACP Business Education Workshop webinar series. We have adapted our regular business education workshops at City Hall into these webinars until further notice. On behalf of our Commissioner, Rosa Escareno, I want to inform you that business licenses can be processed online by visiting chicagobusinessdirect.org. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you can get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. If you want to learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. To help guide your business and employees during Chicago's reopening process, please visit chicago.gov/reopening. Also, BACP and the City of Chicago's Office of Emergency Management and Communications created Shy Biz Emergency Alerts. You can opt in to receive targeted emergency alerts for the business community. If you are interested, please visit chicago.gov/business Shy Biz Alerts. We encourage all of our attendees to ask questions. Please use the chat box and send your questions to all panelists. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. Today's webinar is entitled Thinking About Launching a Storefront Business, presented by 37 Oaks Consulting. At this time, I will now turn this webinar over to Taryn Smith for us to begin. You're on mute.
Well, I guess that would help to be off mute. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Friday it is. Thank you, Stella, for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. So today, as you said, we're going to be talking about storefront businesses. And this is the topic that I think many small businesses, at least we've seen, are becoming more and more interested in. We know over the past year, we've had the COVID-19 pandemic, and especially here in Chicago, we had stay-at-home orders, and a lot of our retail locations were closed down. So now that they're reopening, a lot of businesses are trying to think about new and different ways to connect with their customers, to get their brand out there, to grow their business, and just engage overall with the community. So therefore, storefront businesses are starting to reemerge in terms of the interest in them. So this topic around having an interest in storefronts, we're going to really touch on some top tips, some mistakes to avoid, and some insights from industry professionals and small business owners alike. So first, what we're going to do is talk to our panelists. So I'll be your host today. My name is Taryn Smith, and as Stella said, I'm the founder and CEO of 37 Oaks, and we're a commerce consulting company that helps businesses grow through e-commerce, through wholesale, through storefronts, and also pop-ups. And we have a panel today, as I mentioned, of experts, and we'll just give them a quick moment to introduce themselves and their businesses, and then we'll talk a little bit more about their business as we get into the panel discussion itself. So Jim Harris, would you like to go first? Introduce yourself.
Sure, my name is Jim Harris. I'm the Director of Property Management and Leasing for Navy Pier here in Chicago.
Okay, thank you, Jim, for being with us today.
Thank
Derek.
you for having me.
Hi, my name is Derek Rowe. I'm the owner of Maeve's Deli, and I also own several storefronts that I lease out to people, so I can help in that aspect as well.
Okay, thank you for joining us. And we do have one more small business owner that hopefully will be logging in before we get deeper into the program. So I guess I'll start off by just setting the foundation and asking, before COVID hit, you had some sort of storefront business, whether you had a restaurant or retail location, or you're managing those properties. So could you talk about how your business was pre-COVID versus the height of the pandemic and how that adjusted based on your customer base or your business overall, just to kind of set the foundation for the conversation? Derek, do you want to go first?
Sure. Maeve's Deli was established summer of 2018. So we got the approval to open up, and business was booming. People loved the food, we were impacting the community, so we were doing very well. Our sales started to increase. We were learning from our trials and errors. So we were doing pretty good. Once COVID hit, it took a blind side. So we had to cut hours, lay off employees, scale down. I refused to close because one thing I've learned about having a business, people depend on you. So we all pitched in. A lot of people that didn't want to participate and taking less cut, less hours, end up leaving, which was better off for maids. So we did good. The one thing I would like to say is I'm in Chatham, 75th and Prairie off of King Drive. And we had an overwhelming support of grants, love, that people came out to make sure we didn't close down. And I think that comes from what we were in the community. We were reaching out to people, talking to people, communicating with people, and they really want to see us succeed. So now that we're kind of post-COVID, we're starting to come out of that box.
Was there anything interesting that you learned about your customer during the time? So you talk about like the community love and they, came and showed that support. Was there anything different about your customers' buying behaviors or what they were asking for during that time, or not really?
Well, pre-COVID, it was business as usual. During COVID, I learned, I didn't even know this, we had people calling in, ordering food and said, don't make it. They just wanted to support the business. So that took me by the side and actually made me feel pretty good. Then we started to get an overwhelming request for big catering orders. We had a 750 sandwich catering order. It was huge. And so customers really stepped up. And if you're in this business, it can make you a little bit emotional. I'm a very emotional person. But it makes you feel good when people come forward and really want to see you succeed. So to answer your question, yes, the customer behavior had changed to help us succeed.
Do you think that, well, I'll ask more of a question. Is there anything that you feel like you did to kind of lay the foundation for that neighborhood or customer support prior to COVID? I don't know if it just came out of the blue because you're such a wonderful business, or if there's some kind of community engagement or something that you did prior to that.
One thing I made it my point was to be involved in the community. And one thing I hammered my employees was that they don't owe us nothing. You owe them everything. I told my employees that, if you're having a bad day, don't come to work. I don't want attitude. I don't want disrespect. You need to treat our customers on your best behavior. And all the compliments I received with Maeve's Deli is your staff is phenomenal. And I believe, this is just my assumption, is that because we treated them so well, they responded back in love and kindness. So that's the one thing I will say. I go into the shop, if anything on TV or the radio is playing that's disrespectful, I tell them to turn it off. Being from Chicago, I go into a lot of restaurants and I just don't like the customer service I receive. So one thing at Maeve's Deli, we hammer customer service.
Mm-hmm. So taking that customer service to a different level kind of really helped and paid off during the pandemic times when a lot of businesses were closed and it was tough for them. So that's a good
most
kind
definitely.
of tip.
Yeah, most definitely. There's a lot of restaurants, and I hate to say this, but I'm being honest because we're on this panel and people need to understand this. We're getting to this business. There's a lot of businesses I would not patronate because of their customer service. I can't, and I get, people say, well, they're minority owned and this, but it costs nothing for a smile. I'm sorry, and there's nothing no one can tell me. And if the people I hire, I have ex-fellas working for me. I have drug addicts that work for me, alcoholics who work for me, and they always come in smiling. And that's what we're going to stand on. So that's important. It's important.
That's a good key point to talk about. And we could dive into that a little bit later. Jim, and you're looking at this kind of from a different perspective because you're more on the property management side and ownership side. But can you talk about how your business was pre-COVID and then at the peak of it and what those differences were, what you saw?
Sure. I would say pre-COVID, ourselves and other places that are sort of in the entertainment / retail business were, looking at a lot of competition from the area. There's just been in the last 10 years just a boom in, trying to figure out ways to get people from, buying online or just getting their entertainment at home with their 80-inch televisions and watching movies there. And, how do we get people out? And then there's, tons of every neighborhood has their own street fest on the weekends. You can't go a weekend in Chicago without having a street fest to go to. So, it was really made us work to try and, figure out ways to get our guests here. And when they're here to enjoy themselves, obviously COVID hit us very hard. we were seeing about 15. We closed for a few months. We reopened. We were seeing 15 to 20% of our normal guests here. And then, when the second wave was going to hit in the fall, we closed again. We just reopened, and one thing I think we've learned about not just our guests, but talking to a lot of my friends in the industry is, there was sort of a thought that people were online, people were shopping online, and it was just going to keep increasing and increasing. And I was worried that coming out of this, people would get even more used to being at home. But people are actually very social, and we know that, but then we forget it sometimes. And so now seeing just the little bit of opening and people being stuck at home for so long, they are excited to be out. They are really loving getting to come and enjoy the lake and just really go anywhere and shop in person and get to know people. So one thing I've really learned through all this, obviously perseverance, but the other thing is just how social people are, and now how we have to recognize that and then take care of them and make sure that they're having a social experiences at our retail centers.
No, and that's an interesting kind of point, and maybe even bringing in what Derek had mentioned earlier about customer service. So since your space is more, or is also focused like on experiences in addition to customer service, are you doing anything different now related to creating that experience or creating that customer service for your visitors than you did before, or is it pretty much just an extension of what you had done?
I think we had started going down that road, as a way. And I don't think there's a difference right now for everyone who's on this call who's looking to have a retail shop or a storefront or a restaurant. There shouldn't be a difference, like Derek said, about having an experience location versus a retail location or a restaurant location. You should be giving an experience to people. That is really, what they're getting when they're coming out to a place that they can't get online. People try to find things that help them feel, better about their day, better about their experiences, better about their life, and then they can share and improve their self-esteem and show people what a great time I'm having. So whether that's,
me?
Oh, we hear you now. Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Whether that's, at a big entertainment place like ours, or whether that's at a small mom and pop store, you really have to make sure that they had a good time, and then they'll tell their friends what a great time they have, and they'll come back. We're really all selling experiences today, because there's so much, not just in my industry of the more entertainment-based retail, just in any retail, there's a ton of competition now. So you have to give that experience to people so that you're not just offering the product anymore, because the product, there's so many places to get it.
And that's a good segue into my next question. So we know that there's a lot of competition. There's been a lot of competition, but especially now we have a lot of businesses that are opening and they're going all for the same consumer. So our customers are seeing probably more messages per minute than they've seen in the past. So when you think about marketing techniques, and this is always a topic that we could probably talk about for hours, but right now, are there any like marketing techniques that you are using that have been considered effective, or that's helping you kind of break through the clutter of that competition? Jim?
Social is big. I remember 20 years ago when I was managing, small community shopping centers and walking door to door to each tenant and getting them to give us a coupon so that we could send it in a mailer or put it in the paper or something. I think that what's important from a marketing perspective these days is that everyone, whether you be an artisan or a store owner, you have a story to tell. There's a story behind why you got into your business. There's a story behind what you're selling this week, and what kind of experience you're giving to people. So, you don't have to hire someone who's some, social media expert or whatever, thousands of dollars. You have Facebook, you have Instagram, pick which one, do multiple or pick which one you're best at or your customers use, and tell your story on it. I'm just big on storytelling, and I was I know I've told you before, I was a creative writing major in college. I had no idea I was going to be going into business or property management, but I think it's really turned to that point where if, you know, our guests on this call are looking for a way to promote their business and let people know what they do, your story is important. People connect with that. They recognize themselves in your story. They see a way that they can buy a product that's not just something they're going to wear or use or eat. It's something that they're going to share with people and make a part of their own story. So I would just use social. We do that here. We show what a great time people are having, and just tell people why you got into this business. I would much rather buy something from someone when I know their story than just go into a store and see something and go, oh, well, that was made in, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Now, quick question before I ask Derek the same question, a quick question for you. When it comes to marketing, I know we all talk a lot about digital marketing and like social because that's where our customers are and you have to know some element of social. But do you use any of the old school marketing, whether it's like radio or print or anything more like tangible or physical when it comes to marketing? Or are you more focused or most focused on digital? For Jim, before we go over to Derek.
We don't use a lot, you know, and I'm not really in the marketing department, but you know, from my experiences, we use a lot of social.
That's mostly the
videos,
focus.
things like that, Facebook Lives, yeah.
Understood. Okay. So then, Derek, on your side, when it comes to marketing, are there any tactics or best practices that you have encountered where it's helping you break through the competition and really show that people need to shop with you and no one else?
I would have to agree with Jim. Social media has been a pro and a con. So let me put both sides out there. Social media is a fantastic tool. However, it's also a two-sided platform. So the more you put out there, the more you open for people to comment. I had experience last week, you know, Maeve's Deli. I'm proud to say we have about 4.8 stars, and that's important nowadays out of 5. And no matter how much you want to make people happy and appease them, you're going to be happy, but it's not happy. And I had a customer that wasn't happy, and I tried my best to make her happy, and she still gave me a negative review. So those are the negative sides of social media. But the positive side is you are going to reach far amount of people with good feedback and a good product. And I agree with Jim that that is the area we're in right now. To answer your question, I have used mail marketing in the past. I did a coupon, mailed it out to immediate 5 miles within my area. We did door to door, we passed out flyers. We did all that in the beginning. But Maeve's Deli has taken on a little world of its own, and it's starting to get name brand. And customers now come in, and I ask them, "You like the food? Please post it." They do. They show videos. They brag about our smoothies. So it has been a huge benefit to Maeve's Deli.
Okay. No, that's a good point. I think overall what we're hearing is that, you know, digital marketing, especially when it comes to social media, you have to have it as a physical storefront. You don't have to be an expert, but what you put out there is really going to help to build that brand, that community, and also drive sales. So that's something important for to know, is just to make sure that you have some sort of social media presence. So now that we've spoken about sales and marketing, let's kind of go a little bit to the operational side, because there's a lot of ways that brands can engage with customers. It could be e-commerce, you could go wholesale, you have storefront pop-ups, things like that. But when you think about a storefront business, it could be a little costly, right, in comparison, because you have these monthly fixed expenses. So I'll ask you, Derek, when it comes to, I'll say, opening or launching your business, can you talk a little bit about that? First of all, that initial process relative to the financials, like when you were thinking about opening a business, like what were some of the financial things that you had to consider before you made that leap?
So I took an abandoned space. This space was vacant for years. So I had to figure out construction costs. I was fortunate. I was a recipient of a grant from the city of Chicago for approximately $85,000. So that helped out a lot. So I had to factor in the construction costs. The equipment costs, even though I tried to compare new to used equipment, it been around the same price. So that was an additional $30,000 that I wasn't aware of. So then you have all the licenses and fees. So there's a lot of things that, let me share this with the panel. I had no idea what I was doing getting into this business. I did it because I was trying to do something different in my life. I like to stay busy. I like to do for other people. So a lot of the costs that I incurred was a surprise to me. Now what I'm learning is, since I do have commercial space for lease in Southside Chicago, a lot of people that want to open up storefronts, they don't understand what the cost is. I just had one individual, we had a signed lease for a year, and he asked me, he said, Derek, I cannot do this. I didn't know. I thought I was going to come in, put a table out here and sell food. It doesn't work that way. Architects want to run you about $3,000 to $5,000. You have to get inspections from the city. There's a lot involved that people need to be aware of. One of the guys in the community, he's a neighborhood chef, and I explained to him, you have to get inspections, fees, costs, and I use it to the point of, this is not selling CDs out of a trunk. There's a lot more involved, and I told him not to disrespect his hustle, but when you come to this aspect, you have a lot more fees involved, and sharing that with him. So to answer your question, I would ask anyone just to be aware of all the fees they're gonna incur, and also have a good 6 months in rent, because it's gonna take a while for you to get your clientele built up.
So, and that's good comments. And I see someone in the chat said, this is very good information, because to your point, we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know what questions to ask if we're opening a store and launching it. We just don't know. So that's one aspect of it, is launching it. But what about operating the store? So I know that it's, I'm sure every day is a treat or something new or different. But when you think about on a day-to-day basis in terms of operating it, have you ever had any surprises that came up? And if so, what are some surprises that some business owners could either anticipate or just kind of keep a lookout for?
If they're going to hire employees, that's a whole other world. Employees, HRs, laws, rules. My first claim for unemployment claim, understand the rules of the state of Illinois and what people's rights are for unemployment. I will share this with with the audience. Please review any and all laws applicable to your business, because people you hire are going to know the rules and laws better than you. And I did not know, and I'm sharing this with everybody, so please take notes. I did not know if someone is not on your schedule for 2 weeks, they're considered unemployed, and they can file for unemployment and get paid. I didn't know that. So again, they know the system better than you, just like renters know the law better than some landlords. Please understand that. Illinois has an attorney on call that would walk you through it. And the attorney pretty much told me, Derek, if you don't protect yourself, they will get paid. And this guy got paid for 1.5 years unemployment because COVID hit. So his unemployment continued, and there's nothing you can do. So please be aware of that. Be applicable to the laws of the state of Illinois and Cook County and city of Chicago. So there's 3 different departments you have to deal with. As far as the operation, everybody has a life, and I can't come in as you're a single mom that can't have a babysitter. A guy got in trouble. So that was a big push. I took off a lot of days. I have a full-time job as well. So I took a lot of days off work to be there, because you have to depend on others. And sometimes that's difficult. All I would say is learn to be understanding, because your way is not always the right way. Especially sometimes the older you get, you think you know everything. I'm learning every day. I'm still learning. So be open to communication. Learn your employees. If you invest in them, they will invest in you. And that would take over a lot of operational headaches, in my opinion.
And I know a lot of the things that you mentioned between the licensing and the fees and even some legal advice. I know BACP offers a lot of resources and classes and courses and stuff along those lines too. So definitely also stay connected with them as well. Jim, from your perspective, so I'll ask a different question for you. So with these businesses that are kind of starting to, look at storefronts again and get into new spaces, how has there been any changes regarding like leasing or negotiations for storefronts now versus kind of pre-COVID from your perspective?
From my perspective, I'm doing a lot of deals that are shorter term. Traditionally we may have a 3 or 5 year lease for a space, and now we're looking to see, do a year and see what happens now that we're out of COVID. We're asking people to pay, or we're talking with people about paying a percentage rent, which is a percentage of their sales. as opposed to having to come in and put down money, every month. We recognize that everyone's coming out of a difficult time, and there's not a lot of startup funds, even for big businesses. So, we have no idea how this year was going to go. So let's just, even at this point, things seem okay right now. We don't know how it's going to go the rest of the way. So from our perspective, it's really been, trying to go in with a lot of unknowns, and how do we mitigate that to make sure that, our partners who are going to become our tenants, who are our tenants, are able to come out of this and then be stronger in the long run. Because I'd really rather, form a partnership with someone that is going to succeed long term for both sides than take money in the short term, and it just doesn't work. And in general, I always try and, I'm just, one member of a team, but I'm sort of the first one people talk to, and I just make sure that they know what they're getting into, that they have experience in business, and that if they don't, they're doing enough research to know. You're not reinventing the wheel when you open up a storefront. There's lots of information out there. I mean, the fact that people are on this call right now is a step in the right direction for everyone. There's lots of resources. Taran has a lot of resources she can give you. Your friends in the industry have a lot of resources they can give you. I would just ask as many questions and try and be as informed as possible. We all get very excited, especially when we're going to start a new business or we have a new idea or something, to jump in and, get that store open, get that restaurant open. But I think, to Derek's point, there's a lot that we don't know. And talking to our friends and talking to experts and listening to seminars like this will really help you kind of form that business plan. So I make sure people have really good business plans and know what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to ask that question, and you may have just touched on it, but what do you look for, in that ideal type of candidate or that ideal type of tenant? Like you mentioned business plan, you mentioned just having some level of experience. Is there anything else there that you would add to it in terms of what you look for in that right tenant?
Yeah, I mean, just to make sure that someone's coming in from an analytical standpoint. I mean, I'm very analytical, and I don't expect everyone to be as analytical as I am. But I really like to see that people have made a business plan, and I would recommend, just for your own benefit to everyone here, make a very strong business plan. This is how much money I need to make to succeed. This is when I know that I'm going to have issues. This is when I know I'm succeeding, can expand some more and get into other products or things like that. I had someone call the other day who wanted to do who wanted to sell some food. And I said, well, where do you do this at? And they said, well, I don't do it yet. I mean, this is a new thing I want to get into. I'm like, I would suggest that you do some research, try and figure out if there's a need for that product, as opposed to, like, you make it at home and you really like doing it for your family, because there's a difference between mass producing it and making something at home. So, it's just about them being knowledgeable and being thoughtful. And if they're not, then I inform them and try and figure out ways, to what would work for them. And, go try this out over here, and then we can talk. Ultimately for me, I don't want to, it's not in my best interest personally and as a company for us to see people, especially local Chicagoans, fail. And a lot of people get excited when they hear Navy Pier, and I get it. I'm excited to work here. But I want them to have a good experience, not just here, but, personally in life.
Of course. Okay. Well, Derek, I'll ask you a similar question, because I know you also have properties and you look for tenants as well for your storefronts. Is there an ideal profile or characteristic that you look for in that right tenant?
I'm not as big as Navy Pier, so my standards are probably a little lower, being because I'm in the community. I'm in mostly middle to lower class areas. I know a lot of people have a dream and a vision. So I try to sit down and talk with them and want them to understand, with the dream and vision, let me help you out. I try to really share what I've learned at Maeve's Deli with the people who want to seek space for my location. A couple of things I look for is motivation, hard work ethic. The one thing I've learned is people have to be aware of their fear and willing to take acceptable risk and loss. And I learned that through conversation. I want to know You can't control everything. You have to lean on others. Trust is going to be important. You're going to get taken advantage of. Are you okay with that? So there's a lot of things just through conversation I try to look for. And of course, a business plan helps. I've written thousands of them, but always expect the unexpected. And no matter what you plan for, you're going to get hit aside the head. And can you bounce back? And there's an attitude. I developed over the years. I'm a big avid of Les Brown. It's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up and try again. Success is not overnight. A lot of young people think it's it's quick. It's not. So again, determination is a big factor.
Okay. Well, before we start to wrap up, I have a few more questions, and then I think we'll open up for Q&A. But so Derek, for you, because you're more on the operational side of a storefront business, could you talk a little bit about your process of determining like how you're sourcing your products? So you're in a restaurant, you're sourcing your cheese, your bread, and those type of things, just high level. I know we have a lot of business owners probably on the call who make their product. That's one thing. But then you also have people who are sourcing product to resell. I know that typically is a question that comes up, but could you talk about just how overall you decided and where you decided to source your products from?
Yeah, sure. So before we launched our grand opening, I know other people that own businesses. So all in the South Side of Chicago, people I knew or introduced to, I would ask them, where do you get your food from? How much are you paying for this? How much are you paying for that? A lot of people were very open to tell you. They're like, hey, you should watch out for this. So I interviewed a lot of business owners, and some wasn't, open to the conversation. That's fine, but it didn't stop me from going and asking the question. So when they did it, I took notes and I compared prices from different companies to buy from. And then I actually tried to buy from one company so we can get cheaper pricing. So your companies out there are Cisco, Gordon for food services, Cisco, Gordon Foods, Food and Paper Supply. These are a lot of food organizations, and I would advise anyone when it gets to the food industry, please do your research, and please. And I'm big on understand what your price comparison is. Understand what are you paying per ounce, and then what are you selling for the end product. That's very important. Another thing I've learned: please check your pricing every 3 to 6 months, because they will increase the price. You will never know they increase it. You're just writing checks, and next thing you know, you're losing 10-20% margin each month because you didn't check your pricing. So, but to answer your question, I interviewed a lot of current food operational locations before I made a decision.
All right. So I'll start to shift a little bit over just high level related to storefront businesses, because again, the purpose of this conversation is to really help to educate small businesses that are interested in this topic. So when you think about overall, and for each of you, and it's different perspectives, but when you think about the overall just challenge of operating a storefront, if you could name one challenge that business owners should kind of keep in mind, and I know there's probably more than one, but if you can identify one, the top one that you would want them to just keep in mind about and maybe do as much research as possible prior to going on this journey, what would you say that number one challenge would be? So Derek, you seem like you have a lot to share there. So just pick one. I know we don't have that much time, so we'll.
I mean, yeah, there's a litany of things. The one thing, and again, these are for people who are going to hire people. Employee management is probably the most difficult thing I had to incur. You have to invest in your employees. You have to. What I've learned is nowadays a paycheck is not enough. If you can't take your team out to breakfast and let them know you appreciate them, gift cards on the holidays, doing something for them outside their paycheck, they're not going to invest in you. And I learned that. I'm not at my business every day. I have a manager who runs it for me, and I speak and meet with him on a regular because he's the one who runs my business for me. So to answer your question in a nutshell is invest in your employees and do not think because they get a paycheck, they're going to do what you need to do. Some days are over.
That's great advice. Jim?
That's 100% my answer as well. Especially right now, a lot of my tenants are having a difficult time keeping coming out of the pandemic employees. But even beforehand, there's such a different experience going into a business and having great customer service. It's really gonna increase your business long term. And maybe you do have to pay a little bit, and you have to spend some money to do something extra for your employees. Happy employees are going to lead to customers having a great experience, and then them coming back and telling their friends to come out to your business. So you get customer service is everything. It's going to be difficult right now because there's a over exuberance of people wanting to come out and spend money right now. And there's a lot of pent up. I mean, I just see it if you watch what's happening. I watch a lot of sports, and there's people throwing bottles at players and people running on the field, and there's people who are just a little more aggressive right now. So you want to make sure your employees are happy, because they're going to have to deal with that, and that they are representing your business in the best way. And you may have to pay a little bit extra right now, and I know that stinks, but it pays off in the long term with customer retention. I guess employee retention can lead to customer retention.
Good point. Good point. Okay, so last question before we open it up for Q&A. We know that a lot of the businesses here are just trying to navigate this process. They're trying to first understand it and then navigate it. Would you recommend one tool or resource that will be helpful for them to navigate or better understand this process of opening a storefront? Any one particular tool or resource? It could be an app, a website, a person, an organization, or something that could just kind of help them better understand if they need to go down this process.
If you were looking to do a storefront, I would use a real estate broker, because 95% of the time you're not gonna have to pay them. They're gonna be paid from the landlord. As a landlord, I don't want to have to pay the extra expense sometimes, but at least I know someone's been vetted by someone professional. They'll give advice on what you need to do, but yeah, I would also make sure you have a good attorney who knows real estate, because again, you are paying money out front that maybe you don't want to, but long term it will save you money. It'll make sure you're making the best choices for the long term of your business. You don't really get a lot of chances to start off the right way. You get one chance to start off the right way. So make sure you start off right. And I would hire professionals to help me, through that situation. Okay,
good. Thank you, Jim. And then for Derek, even if from your perspective, it's on the operational side. So once they kind of get started, is there one particular tool or resource that you cannot live without as a business owner?
I would advise them to get as much education as possible with a lot of the free resources. I know 37 Oaks in Chicago, BACP, is a good tool. I'm not a big fan of analysis by paralysis. I'm not going to tell you to make a decision, but you're not going to know everything, but try to take advantage of most free tools as possible. Take scrupulous notes, review your notes, because when you make a decision, you want to be confident in your decision. And one thing I've learned is fear is real. It controls a lot of decision making, but you cannot let that stop you from growth. So I would most definitely say take advantage of everything they possibly can, calls like this and education online, because it's very important.
Awesome. Well, thank you two very, very much. Stella, can we now open it up for questions? We want to make sure we allow some time.
But you know that Tiffany is online.
Oh, okay.
To get anything from her, let me unmute her.
Okay.
Hello, Tiffany, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Hi, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. So Tiffany was one of the panelists, and I know we had some technical issues, so sorry we couldn't get her on camera. But maybe there's a few things we could kind of ask about you related to the topic. So do you want to just introduce yourself very, high level and tell us about your business?
Sure. Again, my name is Tiffany Joy, and I am the founder and owner of Hemp Hills Body Shop. And it's basically a business where I infuse CBD into different bath and body products, such as a CBD salve, gummies, tinctures, bath salts, etc. And yeah, a lot of my products are found in the Silver Room, and I'm looking forward to opening up a storefront across the street from Washington Park soon.
And the reason why you were a perfect fit for this panel, or are a perfect fit, is because you're kind of in that space where a lot of the small businesses are right now. It's like you're really in the earlier stages of it. So can you talk a little bit about your like more detail basically about where you are, because you're starting to kind of emerge into this new space, and I'm sure there's some things that you have to think about because of this stage. So could you talk about like where exactly you are in this stage and some things that you're really considering and finding out?
Yeah, so I'm opening up a storefront, like I said, across the street from Washington Park. Initially, it was supposed to open up prior to the pandemic last year in April, but due to the pandemic, things has been postponed. I'm in collaboration with the University of Chicago on this project, so we are working together to get the facility open. But now that the city is kind of opening up, we're starting to have that talk on what it is we need to do to get the storefront open. So a lot of the things that we are discussing is that social distancing is still like a major issue for us. So we still going to have that set in place, even though, the city is opening back up. We will still demand that people wear masks while they're in our facility. And we just want people to just be able to come to a place where they can have a fun shopping experience. So even with that being said, one of the other things that we are implementing is like a contactless payment system. So we implementing like those QR codes, so we've been seeing like a lot of that with the QR codes. If people want to pay you via Cash App, they can just kind of scan that and we don't have to, kind of like deal with money. So right now we're just waiting for the green light to go
Right.
ahead and open up the store. So it's a long time coming, but definitely can't wait. And it's been a good panel discussion today, hearing the other gentlemen and what
Good.
they
Well, no,
have to
thank
say.
for being a part of it, and congrats on your progress to the storefront. I'll ask one more question before we start to open it up to Q&A. So one of the recommendations that Derek had mentioned is for anyone who's thinking about going this route is to basically learn, right? Do your research, really peel back the onion, just really find out what's going on when it comes to operating a storefront. Have you done that? And if so, could you talk about what that process has been and where you did this?
Yeah, so what I've done is that I've connected and networked with other business owners. You kind of want to tap into other people that's doing what it is that you're doing. That way, it kind of cuts down on a lot of the red tape, and you can kind of get to your end result that you see. So I believe that in networking with other business owners and seeing, different tactics that they use and any tips that they can provide to ensure that you have a very good opening. And also, I would recommend connecting with the Chamber of Commerce. Whatever neighborhood that you decide to go in, you definitely want to check in with that Chamber of Commerce. I believe that they will be a good resource for you, as well as the BACP and 37 Oaks. I mean, you guys are all giving good resources for us as small business owners that we can utilize to open up a storefront.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, so Stella, were there any questions that we can answer or address to any of the panelists?
Yes, you guys have questions.
Okay. Are you able? Not sure I see them, or I'm looking at the right
In the
place.
chat, okay.
Let's see.
What
So,
avenues, sites, etc., would you recommend for maximizing the impact of social media marketing? I'm sorry, my email is going off.
no worries. Anyone from the panel? And Tiffany, I think you're still on or off mute if you want to chime in as well. So what avenues for social media basically are the recommendations? That's what we're asking.
I think with social media, the paid advertisements, you can never go wrong with that. You definitely get a good return on your investment when you go into the paid advertisements and identifying your ideal customer and utilizing your social media platform, even your posts, in order to get the word out there about, your store, your business, whatever information you want the consumers to have. And then also with social media, you want to connect with, like-minded or similar businesses like yours that can also place you in front of their audience. You know, you wouldn't have had that opportunity unless you connected with other, people within your industry. So I think that once you still, again, it's all about networking. Once you start networking with different people and building those partnerships, they will then be able to expand and spread the business, spread the word about your business.
Okay, good point. Derek or Jim?
Right
I would.
here.
Oh, sorry. One thing I wanted to mention earlier is please be mindful of the fees that you are going to incur on a monthly basis. You should have a monthly budget of your advertising fee, your transaction fees, because those can add up and it can hurt you at the end of the month. I agree with Tiffany about the investments in social marketing. The one thing I would share with people, there's a lot out there. People always want to charge you a lot of money to do it for you, based on your time, your presence, other people. There's a lot of things you can do yourself and set on auto and et cetera, et cetera. I don't watch a lot of TV, so in my spare time, I'm looking at how I can grow my business and continue to develop my business. One thing I want to say on this call, a lot of people are not aware of, is geofencing. I'll say it again, geofencing. There's actually an app out there, and you can Google it and do your research, that if customers come within so much of perimeter of your business, they get a text message and saying, hey, come and join this special for $5.99. And people are like, oh, okay, I didn't know this. And they will come in this business. So take advantage of all the technological apps and things out there to draw people into your business. But again, please have a budget, stick to that budget, and every couple of months you should see your return on your investment.
Derek, you said the name of that was Geo Vincent. I'm writing it down.
Yeah, it's called geofencing. It's
Got it.
pretty much is that you go in, you set the parameters. If someone drives within 2 miles of your location, they get a text message saying, hey, come in for a 10% discount on XYZ.
That's excellent. Thank you for that.
No worries, no worries.
There's some apps out there such as like Retail Me Not. I don't know if you all are familiar with that, but they have it kind of baked in. So that's an existing app. And if you participate in that, they do, I believe, have some existing geofencing in their technology. So I always get my Boston market alerts when I go by it. So Jim, did you have any perspective on the question regarding marketing platforms?
Yeah, I would recommend social media influencers. They don't cost, not all of them have millions of followers and cost thousands of dollars to come and promote your business. When I used to work for JLL, which, is a large real estate firm, and we manage hundreds of malls, and we were starting, our marketing team was starting to have a program with social media influencers to, have them come by the mall and have them have some free food, and have them, do whatever experiences at the mall. And then, they would post about their experiences there. And sometimes they have thousands of followers who can find out about your business. So I would do some research online to find out who, the influencers in your area are. And, offer them a free meal or offer them some of your product to come check it out. They can do an Instagram live or a Facebook live at your place. So I think that people get sort of intimidated thinking that everyone online who's going to promote their product, they have to pay a lot of money for, when really it's maybe just about giving them that experience. And then you're also helping them build their base and, find out about places that they may not have known about and get more followers that way.
Awesome. Okay, good feedback. Oh, Derek?
What Jim was saying, I would encourage everyone on this panel to take practice in protecting their peace, because once you get into this business, you're going to have a lot of negativity telling you what you can't do, and that's not possible. They have to learn how to be around people, and what Jim touched on, your network is your net worth. You have to be around people who believe in you, believe in your vision, and to keep pushing, because there's going to be a lot of bad days. And if they can't lean on people to say, keep going, it's not worth it. And the brick and mortar aspect of it is a whole nother aspect of selling online, because a lot more costs are involved. So of course, revenue sales have to increase. So again, because of Maeve's Deli and because a lot of people I associate with, a lot of people want to be my friend all of a sudden. And Out of probably 4,000 Facebook people, I probably know 10 of them. And I unfollow all of them because I don't want the negativity. I mean, again, life is hard, but I can't take on all that and continue to hire people, develop, promote. So please be careful who you associate yourself with.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, as we know, entrepreneurship is a journey in itself. But when you layer on some of the fixed expenses and some of the nuances of operating daily operations of a brick and mortar, it could be a lot more intense. So that's a good point around protecting your peace. So we have one more time for maybe one more question, Stella. And actually, if you could read it off, because I actually didn't see the last question that you mentioned. So maybe somewhere. Is there
Actually, you got a little more time for Q&A if you guys want to keep going. So now I'm in a Q&A box. That's probably why you can't see it. This is the long one. It's about unemployment. I know you are not an unemployment specialist, but based on your experience, when an employee starts collecting unemployment, do you pay it or is it an insurance? I thought this was an insurance. I thought this was covered with insurance. Will my premiums be higher because my employees are collecting unemployment?
I think overall, and possibly it's maybe more of a Derek question because you just mentioned it very high level, and we know that you're not an unemployment specialist. But I think the question is maybe around what's the impact on you as a business owner financially when someone files for unemployment, possibly. If
Okay, yeah. So what I learned is this: when you pay taxes and when you pay your fees to the state of Illinois, you are hit with a certain percentage based on the zip code area that you have to pay to the state for unemployment insurance. When there's additional claims on your business and businesses that surround you, that percentage goes up. So you do pay. You just pay through your taxes when you pay the state of Illinois. That's something you really can't control. So just add it to your expenses when you're adding all your expense costs. So you're paying insurance. I'm sorry. You're paying insurance through the state. Now, I have insurance for my business or a private company. That's something different. But with the state of Illinois, you're going to pay into it based on time, location, etc. So you really can't control that. So I wouldn't worry about it. What I will say is, it's difficult with employees, but just try to communicate with your employees the best way you can, because once they file those claims, it will increase.
And I think if anyone needs additional information around that, specifically around unemployment, because that's a big topic in itself, I'm pretty sure that BACP does have some resources or people that can help kind of navigate that as well. All right, Stella, any other questions?
Mm-hmm. This is directed to Derek. I'm waiting for this thing to disappear. I'm interested in learning more about the grant program from the city when purchasing abandoned property that you mentioned earlier, Derek.
The grant program is the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, the NOF, and you also have what's called SPIF, Small Business Investment Fund. Those are two grants that City of Chicago advertised to help you with your business. Now, I may have misspoken, I apologize. I didn't use that money to purchase the space. I already owned the building. I used the money to renovate the space because I was doing a food establishment in a low food area. So you have to understand the criteria for the City of Chicago before they would give you the grant. So if I were you, Google NOF, Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, and also SPIF, Sam Boy Ida Frank, Small Business Investment Fund. Those two things you can look up and it will tell you the criteria of what you can use the money for and what the requirements are.
Okay, thank you. All right, Stella, any
The
other
questions are now rolling in.
Oh, okay.
Is it a good idea to set up the legal structure of your business before you secure a location?
Jim, maybe that's a question from your perspective.
Yes.
You
Absolutely, 100%. You definitely want to know, I always have to preface answers like this as saying I'm not a lawyer and you should consult with a legal expert. But there is a lot of responsibility you can take on by signing a lease a certain way. You know, if you don't have a corporation set up and you sign up as a personal individual, then you know, should something go wrong with the business, should, you know, you owe money to the landlord or whomever based on that business, you're personally liable for that. Whereas if you set up a corporation, you have less liability. That's as detailed as I'll go into it, just because, again, you should consult a lawyer, but you should not you should not sign anything or go into anything without first consulting a lawyer.
Absolutely.
Great advice. Great advice. Okay.
Okay, I've checked the chat box and the Q&A box. I don't see any new questions.
Okay.
So I guess we're at last thoughts.
All right, awesome. So for each of the panelists, I'll just go around and maybe you could give, you know, maybe that one piece of advice for any of these potential or budding storefront business owners out there. And in addition, you can add your website or any contact information, your social media handles for them to connect with you or follow your businesses. So Jim, do you want to go first?
Sure. Treat your business like a business. You know, I'm personally, you know, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and a lot of people on the call, I'm sure, are artists with their product. But ultimately, you're going to succeed and fail based on how good your business is. So do the research. Again, being on here is the first step, or a multiple step process. And the more information you have, the more prepared you'll be. There's still going to be things, like Derek said, that you don't know, that are going to pop up, but you'll be more prepared for all the other things that you wouldn't have known either had you not done the research.
Got it. How can people connect with Navy Pier?
Either in www.navypier.org. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all the various things that my kids know how to use better than I do. Or just come down here on a beautiful day. I mean, today's an awesome day and it's beautiful out. You can walk along the lake. It's a great place to be.
Thank you. Okay. Derek, one piece of advice and how people can connect with you.
Well, connect with me is www.mavesdeli.com. That's the website. And we're on Instagram and Facebook at Maves Deli. So that's a way, and we have a contact form to communication. The one bit of advice I've learned is two parts. Please be mindful of your circle. That's very important. I have people in my circle that motivate me when I want to give up. So that's very, very important. If they're not for you, seek alternative measures. The second thing is be confident in your decision making. A lot of people, they're not negative, they just don't know. And sometimes even my family talks me out of things because that's their fear. Don't let them put their fear on you. Please be confident in who you are, follow what's in you, and be smart about it. Do your research. Please do your research. But don't do your research for 5 years, okay? So make a decision, but be confident in who you are.
All right, thank you, Derek. Tiffany?
Yes, well, piggybacking off what these gentlemen said, I mean, you know, we all have a purpose in life. You know, that is my ultimate saying. You know, we all have a purpose and a goal in life. So it's our job to figure out what that passion and purpose is. And once you figure out that passion and purpose, I say put your all into it, 100%. And like Derek had mentioned, surround yourself with like-minded people. Being an entrepreneur can be lonely sometimes. So when you're around like-minded people, like you said, when you're down and out, you have those people to uplift you. So I would definitely recommend that. Build on your network and research. Research. Can't go wrong with that.
Okay, wonderful. And how can people connect with you?
People can find me, Hemp Heals Body Shop, on Instagram and Facebook. And you can go to www.hemphealsbodyshop.com and visit our website.
Great. So I will kind of wrap it up with my one piece of advice. And if you have interacted at all in any form or fashion with 37 Oaks, I always talk about it's not just the decision that you're making, but it's the impacts on your decision. So understand the impacts, especially the financial impacts on any decisions that you make. Operating a storefront, as we mentioned in the earlier parts of this, is that there's some fixed costs each month. So if you don't have sales coming in, you still have to pay rent, you still have to pay insurance, you still have to pay those things. So just make sure you understand the financials of your business and of course, any impacts of your decisions. So again, I'm Taran Smith. I'm founder and CEO of 37 Oaks, and you can find us at 37oaks.com. And we're on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at 37 Oaks. So we hope you got a lot of great information today. Hope you're ready to open a storefront if it makes sense for you. And hopefully we'll see you on the next webinar. So Stella?
I would like to thank all of you for this wonderful panel today. I actually learned a lot. I didn't even know. I learned about Hempfield's Body Shop. Tiffany, you might get an order from me. I just recently had surgery and my top of my foot is so sensitive. So I'm gonna have to check you out. But thank you guys so much for all of this wonderful information, and thank you to all of our attendees. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program and you would like to receive credit for today's webinar, please send us an email right now at bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. And to learn more about our upcoming webinars and even our upcoming remote expo, which is coming up in July 22nd, please go to chicago.gov/business education. Thank you guys so much again, and I hope everyone here enjoys your weekend. Bye.
Bye.